All right, let's get right into it. When we talk about virtual reality, you could be spending a few $100s, or you could be spending the price of a really nice car. So today, we're going to climb that ladder. We are going all the way to the absolute summit of VR tech in 2026 to see what that kind of money really gets you.
I mean, it's a wild range, isn't it? At one end, you've got these incredible, accessible devices that have brought VR to millions of people. But at the other end, you have these professional-grade simulation rigs that can literally trick a pro race car driver's brain into thinking they're on a track. So, what's the difference? What separates them? Well, let's find out.
So here's the plan. We're going to start our climb at base camp with the kind of VR most of us know and love. Then we'll make our way up through the enthusiast and professional tiers all the way to the peak, which is full-on physical simulation. And at the end, we'll break down exactly what each of those price jumps is buying you.
Okay, so our journey begins with the device that, for a whole lot of people, basically is modern VR. This is our benchmark. It's the standard that we're going to measure everything else against.
And here's a price tag that probably looks pretty familiar. This is the Meta Quest 3. And it just hits that perfect sweet spot of performance, features, and, not breaking the bank. For just under $500, this is our ground floor. This is the entry point for millions.
So what do you get for that? Well, the resolution is really solid, sharp enough that you barely see that old screen door effect. You know that grid of pixels you'd see on older headsets? The tracking is all self-contained, no need to set up little cameras around your room. And critically, it works all by itself, or you can hook it up to a gaming PC. It really is the Swiss Army knife of VR. So who's this for, honestly? Almost everyone. It's the perfect way to get started, it's a fantastic all-rounder for gaming and social apps, and the library of stuff you can do on it is just massive. So remember these specs, because this is our reference point for the whole climb. All right, let's move up to our next camp. This is where we start to leave the mainstream behind. The price is about to take a pretty big jump, and almost all of that money is going towards one thing: pure, unbelievably crisp visual quality.
For the price of nearly 4 Quest 3s, you can get the Pimax Crystal Super. Yeah, that's a serious leap in how much you're spending. This is not an all-rounder anymore. This is a specialist piece of gear, and it's built for people who want the absolute best picture quality a consumer can get their hands on.
Now this is where it gets crazy. Just look at the jump in those numbers. We're going from about 2 million pixels per eye to over 14 million. And that pixels per degree, or PPD, that basically triples. Think of PPD like the pixel density on your phone. The higher it is, the sharper the image. This is the jump to what's called retina-level clarity, where the pixel grid just melts away. And you don't get there with just better screens. You need high-quality glass aspheric lenses to make it happen. So, who pays this much for pixels? Well, people where every single one of those pixels matters. We're talking sim racers who need to read a super detailed dashboard at a glance, or flight sim pilots who are trying to spot another aircraft way off on the horizon. This is for the PCVR purist who cares about visual clarity more than anything else. And now we ascend into the professional tier. The price is about to jump again, but this time it's not just about what you see in the virtual world. It's about how that virtual world can seamlessly and believably blend with our own. The Varjo XR4 starts at nearly 7,000 euros. Okay, just take a second with that. At this point, we have left the consumer and enthusiast markets far, far behind us. This isn't a toy. This is a powerful, precision tool built for industry, research, and even defense. And this chart really shows you why it costs so much. Look at the new tech that's showing up. The pass-through, that's the camera that lets you see the real world, isn't just some standard camera. We're talking about two 20-megapixel sensors trying to perfectly replicate what your own eyes see. And then there's LiDAR. That's a laser-based depth sensor that lets the headset understand the exact shape of the room you're in. This is the tech that makes true, high-fidelity mixed reality possible. Yeah, this technology is for mission-critical work. Picture this: a pilot is training in a real physical cockpit. They can reach out and touch the actual buttons and switches, but through their visor, they're seeing a perfectly integrated virtual world outside. Or imagine an industrial designer placing a full-scale virtual model of a new car right in the middle of a real showroom. It's wild. And for government use, they even make secure versions in Finland for classified environments. We've made it. We've reached the summit. And up here, at this altitude, we're moving beyond what you can just see and into what you can actually feel. This is where virtual reality becomes full-blown physical simulation. So, meet the titans of motion simulation.
On the left, you've got the Force Dynamics 202, which uses this incredibly clever design with just 2 actuators to generate the feeling of a multi-axis system. It gives you these clean G-force cues that your inner ear totally believes. On the right, the CXC Motion Pro 2 is an elite platform for pro drivers. Both of them are engineered with one goal: to trick your brain into feeling real-world forces.
And it absolutely works. Listen to what pro driver Laura Spinelli said about the Force Dynamics rig. The yaw, the feel of peak braking force, it really makes it feel like you're in a race car. And that yaw, that's the feeling of the car's tail rotating around a corner. That is something you just cannot get from looking at a screen. That's the whole point. You don't just see the corner, you feel it.
So, you take a top-tier headset, you combine it with a professional motion rig like the Force Dynamics 401CR, and all of a sudden you're looking at a setup that can easily blow past $90,000 and even approach 6 figures. This is it. This is the absolute peak of immersion, the summit we've been climbing towards, where money is truly no object. Okay, so after that wild climb, let's look back down for a second and connect all the dots. What are we actually paying for with each step up that ladder?
You know, it really boils down to a pretty clear progression. First, you're paying for pixels and clarity, just a sharper image. Then you pay for better optics, like glass lenses, to make the most of those pixels. Next, you pay for advanced sensors, like LiDAR, to understand and merge with the real world. And finally, at the very top, you're paying for complex mechanical systems that add that incredible layer of physical immersion.
Now, what I think is so interesting about this chart is how clearly it shows that first massive leap. Just look at the raw pixel count. The jump from the Consumer Quest 3 to the enthusiast Pimax or the Pro Varjo it's staggering. We are talking about a more than 6 times increase in the amount of visual data being pumped into each eye. That is the fidelity you're paying for.
Which kind of brings us to the final question, right? All of this crazy high-end tech, eventually it finds its way into the stuff that we can all buy. So what do you want first? Would you rather have that retina-level resolution of the Pimax, the true mixed reality of the Varjo, or maybe even a little taste of that motion simulation? Definitely something to think about.